Today, I'm going to react to the recent decision in Great Britain. They passed an assisted dying bill. Let's see what the collective wisdom about X had to say about that.
The ayes to the right, 330. The noes to the left, 275. The ayes have it, and look!
So there you have it, MPs voting in favour of the assisted dying bill.
I have to admit that a little piece of me died inside when I watched the vote. And as I processed it, scrolling through X and seeing all the responses, just even the words assisted dying, it sounds so pretty, it sounds nice and compassionate. And yet, here was this once great nation that was a stalwart for the Christian faith, is now promoting the culture of death. This is not a good sign. Now, one prominent voice on X is a gentleman named Coleman Hughes. You might have heard of him. He's a young man who has commented quite a lot on the race issues. And in general, I would say he kind of is more on me and Monique's side of the conversation, but he's also an atheist. And here his worldview came right through as he was sharing his take on this recent decision. Coleman Hughes said this: an important and long overdue policy change. I hope American states will follow suit. And he posted a screen cap with a headline: after emotional debate, British lawmakers vote to legalize assisted dying. In a landmark decision on Friday, Parliament voted in favor of allowing assisted suicide for some terminally ill people under strict conditions. What I thought was interesting was scrolling down the comments a little bit. There was some definite pushback. Abominable take, one commenter said. Another one said, enlightenment rationalism can do a lot of wonderful things, Coleman, but it can't tell you why human life has inherent dignity and value. Amen to that take. You are grotesquely wrong. I will work hard to vote any politician who supports it out of office. You are profoundly wrong about this. It is a suicidal policy of a dying civilization that has lost hope. And on it went. But that was not the only take. There were a lot of active people saying this is a mistake. Even if you think you're going to have this loophole of, well, we're going to have barriers and we're only going to have in such certain situations. No. It does not take long for it to become the slippery slope to, in Holland, what we've seen is even people with mental illnesses wanting assisted suicide. This is, in fact, a culture that is in trouble. They have lost hope, and they have lost their belief in a transcendent God who has given them life. Here's a few more takes from Twitter. This one from a gentleman named Bradley Burtzer. I don't know who he is. I believe in the sanctity of life from conception to natural death. Yes, and amen to that. Another commenter said the death cult of late modern societies, live for nothing more than yourself, results in abortion. Your life isn't worth living, results in euthanasia. Another great comment that I appreciated was from pro-life advocate. She's also a traditional Catholic. Lila Rose says, assisted suicide is murder. 4 very clear words. I couldn't agree more with her take. I think it's absolutely the right position. And then later in the day, she made another post about the same issue. She said, if someone is about to jump off a bridge, you run to try to save their life, not push them over. This is the difference between a civilized society and a barbaric one. Assisted suicide is barbaric. I completely agree. I think that was a very good take. Let's look at one more. This one says, the right to die inevitably becomes the duty to die. How evil Our elderly and vulnerable already have dignity assigned by God. We don't need to die or be killed for dignity. God is for life. And I was just especially struck by that first line, is the right to die inevitably becomes the duty to die. And there's already been headlines since the decision about how people say that, if I were to become too much of a burden on my family, I would want to opt for the assisted suicide. This is the concept of the duty to die, where we tell our elderly, you're too much of a burden on society, you're too much of a burden on the family. Dying would be cheaper, faster, more expedient. This is all the wrong message. We're going in the wrong direction. And so I just want to encourage you today to know that Christianity is the religion of life. We stand for innocent life. We stand for the dignity of the unborn and of the aging and even the dying. This is one of the things that makes the Christian tradition of hospice care so vitally important. This idea of helping people in their final days, of what it really means to die with dignity. It's not to expedite their dying. It is to help them die in a more pain-free environment, an environment surrounded by love and care and concern, often in their own homes and with medical care right there to help them in their final days. If you've never thought about a theology of end of life issues, it's something that we need to give more thought to, because as our culture becomes increasingly a culture of death, we as Christians will need to know how to advise one another in our informal lives, our informal over coffee conversations, on how to think about issues related to dying. The secular establishment, secular healthcare is not going to help us from a Christian perspective. This is a topic worth thinking about, learning about. I might recommend a good solid introductory ethics book, maybe by my old professor, Dr. Scott Ray. It's called Moral Choices. There's other good options available, but take some time to begin to think about a theology of death. Thanks so much for watching.